We should be going live now. Okay. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. I'm Maria Hall. I'm here with lawyers Yeva Haroutunian and Jasmine Gomez. We're all here to bring you your weekly Know Your Rights workshop. And today, our subject is what to do when you're in an accident, specifically a car accident. I think we all kind of know, but then when you're actually in it, sometimes you freeze or sometimes you're just not sure like where you go for help. How serious is it? Do you need to call the police? What exactly steps do you need to take? So we're going to clarify some of that today. Yeva is an attorney. She works on these types of legal issues. She also does work with lemon law. So when people buy a car that does not work properly, she works with, helps clients get what they deserve. And then Jasmine Gomez, who will be doing the Spanish portion today at 1 o'clock. Jasmine is also a lawyer, and she works with planning for your future, estate planning, wills and trusts, and things like that.
Thank you, Maria. Okay, I'm just gonna quickly share screen. All right, so as Maria mentioned, my name is Yeva Haroutunian. I'm an attorney here in California. I do PI, lemon law, and I might take on different kinds of cases as well. So today's presentation is on personal injury and what to do when you get in a car accident. So what we are going to cover here is what happens as soon as you get in an accident, what you should do during, right after, a couple days after the accident. We're also going to talk about the claims process, all kinds of the documents you're going to keep track of, the procedures that you're going to go through, that either you're going to go through, or if you decide to hire an attorney, that your attorney is going to go through. So from start to finish, we'll go through this together, and hopefully this will help you if you are going through this, or if, God forbid, this does happen to you, you'll be prepared in any event. Okay, so the initial steps after getting in an accident. So this is as soon as someone hits you, or you hit someone, but as soon as someone hits you, first thing you should do is try to remain calm. Of course, you're going to be panicked and you're going to be shocked, like as to what happened. Something, either you saw it coming or you didn't see it coming. As soon as it happens, you are going to be kind of frantic and all over the place. But it's very important to just try to keep it together to get through these next few steps. So make sure that you're okay. These steps are not as important as you being okay. So if you do have any serious injuries, anything that requires immediate medical attention, of course, call 911 and you can sort through, or you could get an attorney to sort through the following steps later. So make sure you do that first. However, if your injuries are not too serious, and there's no way to know in the beginning, your injuries might come up a bit later, or you might still be, your adrenaline's up at this moment. So you might think that you're okay, but you might feel it a bit later. But if you don't have any major serious cuts or wounds or injuries, you can get out of the car, exchange insurance information with the driver who hit you. It may be one driver, it may be two drivers, if there's a multiple car accident. So make sure you get their insurance information, and make sure to also take pictures of the accident. So it is very important that at the scene of the accident, right when this happens, that you take pictures immediately. You don't want to take pictures afterwards, because then you might have issues with the insurance adjuster saying that, oh, this is later, this is not evidence that that these damages happened at the accident. It might have happened later, they might say. So make sure you take pictures as soon as the accident happens. Take pictures of your car, take pictures of their car, the other driver's car. You could take pictures of the scene of the accident to show where it happened, kind of to show how it happened. If it happened at an intersection, you could take pictures of the cross streets and where your car is located. If you can make it as detailed as possible, the more detailed you make it, the more it helps to your case. So these pictures are proof and it's your evidence of what happened. So the stronger your evidence is, the stronger your case is. Also take pictures of the damages at different angles, just so it could show how bad the damage is. So if you have, let's say someone T-boned you and you have damage at the driver's door, take pictures of that straight at an angle, as many different angles as you can. Also, if you have immediate injuries, make sure to take pictures of those injuries as well, just so you could evidence that this is what happened as soon as I got hit. Also, if there are any witnesses, if you look around and you see that people have witnessed your accident, or sometimes people might come up to you and say like, oh, hey, if you need me to be your witness, this is my contact information. Make sure you get their contact information, their phone number, so that when you do need them to either, let's say you get to trial, you need them to testify, they could come in, or they could write a declaration or a statement for you, or they could even help you early on in the pre-litigation phase. You can even, if they are willing, you could try to get a witness statement right then and there. It's better to do this early on because it's fresh in their memory. So maybe if you get it later on, they might not remember certain details of the accident. So if they are willing, you don't want to be too pushy or make them kind of hesitate to help you. Try to get their statement, get them to sign it, or if they don't really want to sign it, you could just write up something, have them review it, and they could sign it, and that could help your case as well. If police do show up at the accident, it's that also helps your case. You could also call the police if you want. Maybe you're having trouble with the other drivers, you want someone to be there to help you get through that situation, help document that situation, because you're already going through a difficult time, you're kind of in shock, you're in pain. It could help having the police there to write up a report or to help you get through this process. So how the police report helps your case is that it includes details of the accident that you might not document, or that you might not recollect later on. So also in their report, they might write who is likely at fault based on what they saw, what their opinion is. And they will also get, if there are witnesses around, they'll also name the witnesses and possibly have witness statements in their report. And another good thing is that they might include vehicle code violations. So within their report, they might just include the law that was violated by the other driver. And that is really helpful in your case as well. So as soon as you get home or within the first day or two, make sure you document everything in detail from your perspective, and do this as soon as possible, just so it is fresh in your memory. Put a date on the document, when you wrote it, and the more detail, the better. Like, do not hesitate to get into detail. Write down what happened, how did it happen, when, where, the location, the time, cross streets, whether you were trying to, let's say, make a left turn or a right turn, or you were on the freeway. Make sure to write down who was involved, whether you had passengers in your car, because they can have a claim as well if you had other passengers in your car. If there were pedestrians or drivers or witnesses, just jot everything down. Also, jot down the injuries you incurred as a result of this accident, and not just physical injuries. You might have emotional distress, or as soon as you get in an accident, you might be in shock. And unfortunately, this shock might last a while. So when I got in an accident a few years ago, I didn't know this, but I was in shock for a few days, and it affected my ability to kind of think and to function. I had just got a new job, and my boss can tell that. He's like, I know you just got in an accident, and I understand that this might affect your work for the first few days, first week. So he was very understanding. Just know that you might go through these things, and write down as much as you can as it comes to you. Also, you can add on to, you could keep a diary and add on to this diary to document what you are going through during this entire process, not just the first few days. You should keep a diary throughout the entire treatment process, and document what you are going through, how you are healing, if you're not healing, if the injuries persist, if the pain persists. And we'll go through this in a later slide on how many different ways these injuries can affect you and how to document that. So let's move on to the next slide. Okay, so steps after getting an accident the next few days. So this is like either right after your accident or the next day. You should get immediate medical attention. As I mentioned earlier, you might think you're okay, but your adrenaline might just be up at that moment because you just got in an accident, and you might not feel the pain directly that day, but you'll slowly feel it days after. And that's exactly what happened to me. I just got a job. I didn't want to make it seem like I wasn't able to do a good job. But my pain came up the next day, and it got worse gradually as the days went on. And that when that initial adrenaline goes down, that's when you start to feel everything. So make sure to document that as well. So I covered shock just to let you guys know that it's normal, what you're feeling and what you will go through. Just be patient, seek medical attention, and make sure you get that treated. If you have immediate pain, definitely go to a hospital, and you could go to emergency room, let them know that you've been in an accident so they could help treat you, possibly take some x-rays. If you have headaches, that's possibly a result of whiplash, or maybe you hit your head either at the headrest or in front of you. All of that can contribute to your injuries and to later pain or immediate pain. As soon as you're treated, the first day or the second day, and you got that immediate medical attention, you can contact an attorney who could help you with your case, who could help guide you through this process. If you see that you were under a lot of stress and you're like emotionally not there, you might need an attorney to help you through this process. You can do this process on your own, but if you are suffering extreme injuries, or if you're under a lot of pain, or if you're just under a lot of distress, it might just be easier for you to contact an attorney, and they could help you through this process. They could comfort you, let you know that you're going to be okay, and that get you the treatment you need for your injuries. And after onto the getting to the treatment that you need for your injuries, this might take a few months. So just be patient. You might need to see several medics, several physicians, chiropractors, the like. And if you do have an attorney, they could direct you to the proper providers and to get that treatment for you. So make sure when you do get treated to also give your doctor detailed explanations of your injuries and what you're going through. So don't hesitate in giving these details to your doctor, because they will help you get through this. They will explain why you're going through certain emotions, or certain why you're having pain suddenly in your upper body or your upper back, and your pain was in your lower back and now it's in your different areas of your body, because they'll explain to you that all those things are connected, and they'll just help you a lot. My doctors helped me a lot through this process, and the more you tell them, the more they'll be able to help you. And the more they tell you, the more you tell them, the more they'll be able to document for you, so that later on, when you get these medical records to prove what pain you've been through, you have it in written document form. So it's not just, so you have it like 6 months ago, this is what I went through, this is what my doctor wrote, this is what he did to treat me, and just to document your progress. Also, try to stay organized during this time. Um, when you see these different doctors, when you enter your journal entries, you're going to want to keep them all in one place, keep them all together, so that later on, when your attorney or when you prepare your demand letter, you could just include everything together and make it an easier process for you. And the more organized you are, the easier this will be for you, because you'll have all your documents together, you'll have all your pictures together, you'll have your journal entries from the date of the accident to the date of the letter. So that'll, you'll have everything in one place, and you'll just be able to make this an easier process for you, since you are already going through a difficult process as it is. And make sure to keep everything, because this is your evidence. This is how you're going to prove that I had these injuries and I deserve this compensation. I deserve this much in damages, because here are the pictures, here are the medical records, here are my journal entries. I deserve compensation for this. So make sure you just keep everything documented, keep everything organized, and present it all to your attorney at the proper time. Okay, I just want to go through types of motor vehicle insurance coverages, just so that you could know more about the car insurance, more about car insurance and what covers what. So the first thing is liability insurance. This is insurance that compensates you or others. Like, let's say someone hits you, their liability insurance will compensate you for your bodily injuries and property damage. This includes damage to your car and damage to, let's say, important things that were in your car, like the laptop that got damaged in the accident. So the other driver's liability insurance will cover that. And that is what your attorney will go after. They'll first go against the other driver's liability insurance, so that they could compensate you for your damages. Another type of insurance coverage is personal injury protection. This is coverage to pay for your medical bills. There's also uninsured motorist insurance. This is when after you go after the other driver's liability insurance, let's say they don't have liability insurance, then your own insurance company will provide coverage and compensation for you when you're injured and the other person does not have liability insurance. So your attorney will first try to go after the other driver's liability insurance, and then if they don't have it, they'll take care of it themselves. Another one is underinsured motorist insurance. That's when the other driver's insurance is not enough. Their policy is not enough to cover all of your damages. So it might go to a certain extent, and you might still have damages after that. Then your insurance company will cover the difference. so that you could get fully compensated for your damages. There's also for medical payments, your insurance company pays a limited portion of your medical bills, regardless of fault. Um, and they might require reimbursement after you recover from the other driver. So this could help you in the initial process if you need to pay immediately, if you don't have any liens. And then after you take care of your claim many months later, because this does take some time, they might require reimbursement after you recover from the other driver. The last one is collision insurance. So this type of insurance coverage pays for damage to your car, regardless of fault, minus your deductible. So you could either go after the other parties, go against the other party's insurance, or you could go with your insurance company and they could pay for the damage to your car. So in the end, what's important here is that you do get compensated for your damages. So these are just many different ways that you can get compensated. Okay, now I want to cover what the elements of a personal injury claim are.
Oh, yeah,
And
but can I mention one other thing too about the insurance?
yes,
Somebody today mentioned that in our meeting this morning that it was something like a third of LA drivers are not insured at all. Have you heard a statistic like that?
not that specific statistic, but I do know that a lot of people don't even have liability insurance. So, or they have very low, their policy covers a very low amount. So their damages might be in the $30,000 range, but they will only get like $5,000 back.
Wow.
Um, so it all depends on what their policy covers. Obviously, the more it covers, the better it is for you if you do end up getting in this situation.
Hmm.
Um, so, but that
Yeah.
specific statistic, I haven't heard that specific
Yeah,
statistic.
because I was just thinking about that. Like if you're in an accident and the other person doesn't have insurance, then yeah, you kind of it's hard though because it's expensive, right? I mean, it adds more onto your monthly bill, but what
Mhm.
kind of coverage is that again? Like which one, if you want to make sure that you're covered, even if it's somebody else's fault, or if it's like a hit and run? Because hit and runs, I think there's a lot of those, and then if you don't have coverage to cover yourself, it's not legally required to have coverage that covers yourself, right? Only to
Right.
cover other people. So what would you recommend? Like if you could, had like all the money in the world, what would be like the best case scenario?
Um, the best case scenario would just like if you can afford it to get liability insurance, make sure your policy includes um, clauses or provisions for uninsured motorist insurance, underinsured motorist insurance, just so that if the other driver does not have insurance or his insurance is policy is too low, your own insurance company could help cover those damages for you. So that way you're covered on all bases, basically.
Yeah, because I think a lot of people don't realize that. Like they're paying for their insurance and then a hit and run happens and then their policy is like, oh, I'm not covered for that. But you don't even know it until it's too late, kind of thing. So,
Yeah, a lot of people think that like, what are the odds that that will happen to me? Um, so, and it's also expensive. So like, what can you do, you know? But I would just recommend try to go a little above the minimum, just so that when you do go through something like this, you have yourself covered, just in case the other driver doesn't have proper insurance.
yeah,
And
thank you.
to make sure that you know what your policy covers. You read your policy and you know, like in these events, I'm covered in these areas, just so that you can be prepared.
Thank you.
Um, So now that we've covered what to do after the accident, a few days after the accident, and we've covered a little bit about types of insurance, I want to go over the elements of a personal injury claim. If you have an attorney, they'll take care of this part for you, but this is just so you know that this is what your attorney is going to base the demand letter on, and this is the foundation of your personal injury claim. So it's based on the doctrine of negligence, and basically anybody acting negligently, like when someone crashes into your car, that's negligence on their part because they weren't abiding by the law, they weren't driving properly, they were partaking in negligent behavior. And we all know what that means, but just to go into details, the law defines that in 4 elements, and that is duty, breach, causation, and damages. That basically means that everybody has a duty, and this is a duty of care. If you're driving, you have a duty to drive properly, to drive safely, to drive as you should, as the law dictates, to follow all of the rules of the road, basically to brake properly, to make turns properly. Anything you see that you just see on the road that seems kind of routine for you, all that is dictated by the law, and all that has to do with your duty and other drivers' duties to drive correctly and to drive in a safe manner. And when that duty is breached by someone, that usually results in an accident. So that covers breach and causation. If a driver breaches their duty to follow the rules of the road, that breach results or causes your accident, your damages, your injuries. And damages covers the damage to your car, the damage to your body, the future damages, future distress, and we'll cover all those in a later slide. So now you know that these are the elements of negligence, and this is what is covered in your personal injury claim when you do get in an accident. So it's more of a, if you are representing yourself, it's more of a common sense argument. So if someone does hit your car, it obviously shows that there's been negligence on their part, that they owe you your damages. But just to let you know, legally, this is what we go through: duty, breach, causation, and damages. There are also different standards for the duty of care depending on the situation. So let's say you were hit by someone who was like a delivery driver. They're under the scope of employment, they're driving, but they are currently employed by someone. They are driving as an employee of somebody else. There's different standards for employers, for employees, and but the regular standard, the ordinary standard for everybody is the ordinary care, is standard duty of care for everybody just driving on the road. And in the demand letter, it will mention that it'll be a third-party insurance claim, which is basically against the other driver's liability insurance. So we mentioned in the previous slide about liability insurance that the other driver's liability insurance will cover your damages and injuries. This is all part of a third-party insurance claim. And after you determine who is liable, you get their contact information, you have their names, you can file. And let's say that there's more than one driver, or there is a driver, passenger, or anybody who's involved. You can file a claim against all of those people, but you can only collect from one. So you can only collect once. You can't collect the same amount of damages from each person. So you can send multiple demand letters to multiple people who were involved and could be liable for your accident, but you can only collect from one. And more than one person's insurance may cover your damages. So in an let's say that you were involved in a multi-car accident, and one person is determined more liable than the other person. You or your attorney will basically send notice to both of their insurance companies, and you don't have to worry about dealing with that afterwards. Their own insurance companies will go into communication with each other and will determine who will be the primary and who will be the secondary, um, who will do the primary and its secondary insurance coverage. So what's important here is that you're going to get your compensated for your damages. It could be, however, that more than one person's insurance may cover your damages, and that's okay. Another thing to note is that in California, California follows pure comparative negligence. So if it is determined that you were in any way negligent, or that you are in any way liable for an accident, that pure comparative negligence limits your recovery by the percentage that you are at fault. So if you made a wrong turn and they were speeding, let's say, and you guys crashed into each other, the insurance companies will determine liability percentage at fault. And for example, let's say that you were 30% at fault, your damages are $100,000. Your damages will be deducted by $30,000, and you'll get 70,000. And in pure comparative negligence states, even if you're more than 50% at fault, you can still recover. So even if you were like 60% at fault, you would only get $40,000 in compensation back, which in a way helps people, because other states that are not pure comparative negligence states, if you are over 50% at fault, then you don't get any of your damages. So this is just limited. Total is deducted by the percentage that you are at fault. So the damages that are covered in your personal injury claim are special damages and general damages. So special damages are basically more specific, and general damages we'll cover in the following slide. So overall, the damages that are covered in your personal injury claim are medical bills, medical care, any property damage to your vehicle or anything else that was in your vehicle, loss of income if due to the injuries you're not able to work, or you're able to work less hours, that is also covered. Permanent physical disability or disfigurement, this goes into general damages. Permanent stiffness, and this has to do with what you are going to endure in the future. So you're also going to get compensated for that based on a multiplier that I will discuss in the following slide. Permanent stiffness, soreness, or scarring, loss of family, social, and educational experiences. So people might not realize that a lot more can be covered under their damages than they think. And pain and suffering, as well as emotional damage as a result of any of the above. So not just your physical damages, but your emotional damages, and any future pain and suffering. I'd also like to quickly cover, going back to loss of income, and this is the importance of documenting everything that you're going through. So not only to note that you're not able to work, let's say you work in construction and now you're not even able to do your job, or let's say you work in an office and your back pain makes it really difficult for you to sit for many hours a day. Take note of all that. Also, get any documents relating to your loss of income, so that you can document that and prove what you've lost. Okay, going through general damages, it's there's no specific way to document general damages. It's not really a specific number. So there is a damages formula. So your general damages are equal to your your special damages and medical bills, the medical treatment and care, times anywhere from 1.5 to 5. And in really serious injuries, it could even be up to 10, that you could multiply up to 10 if you have a really serious injuries that that show that either your doctor has documented this or it is evident by the types of damages you've received, that you are going to suffer from this for many years after the accident. And what determines the multiplier, which is the 1.5 to 5, is whether is a few factors actually, whether it is a soft tissue injury or a hard injury. A soft tissue injury is anything that is like a sprained or strained, anything like a sprained ankle or a strained, anything that doesn't have to do with broken bones or open wounds. So hard injuries are anything like fractures. Even the slightest fracture is considered a hard injury. And that'll show in x-rays that your doctor might require you to take. Any head injuries, as I said, open wounds, tears, joint tears, dislocations, all of that is hard injury, and all of that will increase the multiplier in determining what your general damages are. Also, if you've had actual medical examination, so if you've seen doctors, that'll also help you get an increased multiplier. Whether you've seen certain types of physicians or non-physicians. Usually non-physicians are considered like chiropractors, herbalists, any types of medics that are not physicians or not working in a hospital. If you do go to a hospital, or if you're seeing a repeated treatment at a hospital, that'll help increase your multiplier. Whether the period of treatment is a long period of treatment or a short period of treatment, that'll to help determine your multiplier, make it a higher multiplier. Also, whether it's going to take a longer time for you to heal and to recover, that'll also increase your multiplier. And usually a longer period of treatment is evident of a longer period of recovery. So that's why it is so important to document all your treatment, make sure you tell your doctor everything that you're going through, all the pain that you still have, even if it's the slightest thing, make sure to let them know so that they can record it. Certain medications prescribed, the strength of the medication, obviously take whatever you're comfortable with. Don't overdo anything, but certain medications prescribed and strength of medication will increase the multiplier. Any residual injuries, such as permanent scars, stiffness, or disfigurement, anything that shows that you are going to unfortunately have to endure the pain for an extended period of time after your accident. It might be many months after, it might be many years after. We don't know. So that's the point of the multiplier is. We're not going to be able to accurately pinpoint dollar to like the actual amount of damages, but these things all show the need for the increased multiplier. Also, physical and emotional distress. Anything like if you're having nightmares, if you're not able to sleep, if it's too painful for you to lie down, if it's too painful for you to stay standing for a period of time, like you can't do your daily chores, you can't run your errands, you can't if you are involved in any sports or any recreational activities, if you're unable to partake in those things, don't dismiss them. That was a part of your life that was important to you, and that is what you would engage in before the accident, and you should still be able to engage in those things. And if you're unable to as a result of this accident, then take note of that and try to get compensated for that. Missed vacations or school education, any missed events, if you had a wedding planned or if you had a vacation planned and now you're not able to go because you need to stay and get treated, and or you're in too much pain to enjoy these things that you are planning on enjoying, that will also increase your damages. And any loss of consortium, if you have a spouse, or some states might allow you to, they allow you to get loss of consortium for long-term partners, or you could also get compensated for that. And as I mentioned earlier, the multiplier might go over 5 and get to like 6, 7, all the way up to 10, depending on the seriousness of your injuries and how permanent these things are going to be for you, how long they might last. And your doctors, they might include this in their reports. They might speculate that based on these injuries, based on these types of injuries, based on my experience, I've seen that these types of injuries the result of these injuries last this much time, or for an extended period of time. So just make sure to jot everything down so that you could get compensated for everything you have to suffer as a result of the accident. So
So one more thing, Yeva, can I just give the big picture before we move on? Just kind of like the way that I think of it is like the insurance company or the other side, basically the law itself wants to put a person who is a victim of an accident back into the position that they were in before the accident, right? Like the damages. That's how I think of damages, is like you can't really, like you can't physically make someone not injured, but the law can only deal with money. So that's why sometimes people
right,
think, oh, well, they might think of it as unsavory or something to think about, oh, you just want money out of this. But really, that's the only mechanism that the law has compensate you.
exactly.
So you shouldn't feel bad for getting money. You can never, like if you break your arm or if you lose a limb, that's a better example. Like the law can't give you a new arm, but it can give you
Exactly.
money to try to put you back into a similar position. And that's why in these damages, we think about like lost wages. We think about emotional distress. Like what would it take to get you back into the position you were before this happened to you?
Exactly. Money is the only way to measure the extent of your damages, because they can't give you anything else. They can't give you healing. They can't give you treatment. Only money can compensate you for what you've been through. And unfortunately, even after that, it's not enough because of what you've lost. Um, and I just don't. I want to emphasize that because like people are going through the pain of this process, the pain of the loss. That's why they should try as hard as they can to document everything and to not feel bad for claiming these things or for adding these things in their damages, because they are entitled to that. They had that before the accident and now they've lost it. Even if it seems like some people might hesitate, they might think like they're asking for too much for like missing school or missing something that might seem like it's important to them, but they might think that the insurance company will think that they're just trying to get as much as they can out of this claim. But that's what they're entitled to, and they're entitled to a lot more than they think. So the more knowledgeable you are in these areas and what you are entitled to, the more aware people can be when they do miss out on certain things. Like, hey, I deserve compensation for these certain things. So just to keep that in mind as you're going, as they're going through this process. Okay, the following steps are going to cover how your claim is going to be processed. And as you're going through treatment, some of these steps overlap with your treatment, the time that you're getting treatment. Some of them are right after you get treated. So the first step is notice. So you want to give notice to the insurance company, like, I've been in this accident, I got rear-ended, or this is what happened, someone crashed into my car, and I've suffered these damages as a result. This is just simple notice to the insurance carrier, just so that they could get into contact with whoever they need to contact. If you have an attorney, your attorney will take care of all this. So this is just the initial notice. Afterwards, after you get your treatment is complete, your attorney will prepare a demand letter. This is the official demand on your behalf. It's going to cover the accident, the details of the accident. And this is why it's so important to document everything, because your attorney is going to put all that information that you've collected, that you've documented, that your doctors have documented into this demand letter. So your attorney is going to include the details of the accident. They're going to include each doctor you've been to, all your bills. They're going to include all your visits, what's happened in those visits. They're going to also include the types of special damages you've incurred. So your medical bills, any type of like loss of income, they're going to include your general damages, any events you've missed, any pain and suffering. Of course, you have pain and suffering. They're going to include the details of the pain and suffering. So that's when they're going to add that you're in this kind of pain, you're not able to perform your daily functions, you're not able to go to work, you're not able to do the things that you once did before the accident. And at the end, they're going to include the official amount that they're going to demand on your behalf. So this is all of your medical bills, all of your special damages, plus your general damages. And they send it off to the insurance company, and after that begins the negotiations process. So a lot of back and forth between the attorney and the insurance company. It's important to know all the things you've suffered, so that your multiplier, you have reasons for an increased multiplier. The higher you start off at, the insurance company is going to try to lowball you. So the more you document, the more you note that this is what I've been through, the higher the multiplier can be, and the more you can get compensated for. If after the negotiations process, then the insurance company is going to try to settle this as soon as possible, because the longer they take, the more damages you are going to incur. But if unfortunately they decide not to compensate you, that's when you need an attorney. You officially need an attorney to file a lawsuit on your behalf. And it's important to do everything as soon as you can, not to delay anything because of the statute of limitations. The statute of limitations on any claim you make, whether it's personal injury or not, there is a time period during which you have to file your claim. You have to file a lawsuit. Otherwise, if the statute of limitations lapse, if you miss the statute of limitations, then unfortunately you can't recover for your damages. So in personal injury claims, the statute of limitations is 2 years. And I've included the code section that includes the specific statute of limitations. So you want to make sure you file before the 2 years is up. And this is 2 years after the date of your accident. So your attorney will go through the litigation process on your behalf, sending complaints, doing discovery. This is when they get information from parties involved in the accident as to what happened, just to build your case to make sure your case is strong enough. And all of this will kind of, in a way, get the insurance company to settle as soon as possible. So they might settle during the litigation process. If they're most likely to settle, but if they don't, that's when you go to trial. And that's when you have all your witnesses come and testify, you have all your evidence together. And that's why it's so important to keep organized, because you don't know how long this process is going to last. And the more organized you are, the more you have your documents together, the more it'll help your case in each stage of the claim. So when you do reach a settlement with the insurance company, they'll send you a settlement and release. This is basically a contract that states that you both parties have reached an agreement, you've reached a settlement, and this is the amount of the settlement. And it's also going to include a release. So this basically releases the insurance company from any further liability. So once you sign the release, you basically like forfeit your right to pursue your claim any further. So if you do have everything taken care of, it is totally okay to sign the release. Just make sure not to rush during this entire process. If you do, like, don't, it's important not to rush into a settlement offer, but not to rush to accept a settlement offer too soon, because you might incur more damages later. You might have to go through other treatment. So make sure you take your time, evaluate and analyze everything. Don't sign the settlement and release too soon, because as soon as you sign the release, you're not able to get compensated for anything afterwards. But if you are done with your treatment, if you are at a good settlement amount, then it is time, and it is completely okay to sign the settlement and release. And after you do sign this and send this back to the insurance company, that's when a few weeks later you will receive your check, and that'll be the end of your claim. So hopefully you get to a point where you are healed and you're treated and you are compensated for what you deserve to be compensated. And if unfortunately you've incurred serious injuries, or hopefully you have reached settlement amount that is able to somewhat cover what you've been through. So I hope this has helped cover the procedure, the overall process, just so that people can be prepared and can know what to expect during this time. And I'd also like to note that I've used the following reference in preparing this PowerPoint presentation. It's a really good book. It's called How to Win Your Personal Injury Claim. If you'd like to go into detail on any certain thing, you could definitely get this book, and it'll give you even more details than I was able to cover during this 1 hour presentation.
Yeah, I know that book. I think that's the one too that they give really good guidance on, like, don't feel intimidated to speak to the
Mhm.
insurance companies, especially women. It was interesting because I remember at Lawyers in the Library, a woman had that book, and then she's like, "We need a book like this, but specifically, for women who get more intimidated by talking to the insurance adjuster or something." So, yeah, if you ever want a book subject, apparently there is a need for that because it
Yeah.
can be intimidating, but it doesn't have to be. You can find a lawyer, and if you don't find a lawyer, then you can do it on your own. But it's just good to know all of these steps and how the insurance company does look at it.
Hmm. Yes, exactly.
Yeah, that was super helpful.
Thank
Awesome.
you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I hope I could help as much as I can.
Yeah, yeah. And for people who do, if they do have questions about even just understanding you're about to renew your policy, your insurance policy. I know on my policy on Progressive, it's not an ad, it's just, whatever. I'm just explaining. They actually have all of these, they like list every type of insurance, and then you can just bullet point like which ones you want. But
Hmm.
even me as a lawyer, I had to read a lot and then I had to Google what exactly is that. They explained
Hmm.
some. But if people do want help with that, they can call SBCC and one of us will just walk you through it and we can discuss it and figure out, you can just talk to a lawyer for free to help you through that to make sure that you and your family are covered because that's what it's really about is knock on wood, nothing will happen. But if something does happen, how can you make sure that, you are at least still on your feet and that you can get all the care you need and everything? Yeah,
Exactly.
thank you. That was awesome. So next we're going to switch to Spanish. And I don't know if you want to, Yeva, do you want to be the one to do the scrolling or do you want to take a short pause and then Jasmine will do the scrolling on the Spanish slides or how would you both
I
do that?
I
Yeah,
think it'd be
however
helpful.
Jasmine prefers.
Yeah, yeah, but if you can do it, because I have your English ones up because it'll help me kind of see like
Okay.
so I'm translating. I'll have the English one on my computer, but if you can have the Spanish, that'd be great.
Okay, I could definitely do that.
And then I'll probably have to ask a few clarifying questions just to make sure that everything is accurate.
Okay, sounds good.
But if I can have 1 minute, is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay, thanks. I'll be back.
So yeah, but yeah, we can talk until she's ready. Yeah, no, it's a super interesting concept because it's kind of like the know your rights with police, where I have like, what do you do if you got stopped? We've done
Hmm.
those before. And it's like you can learn it and learn it, but then when you're actually experiencing it, even I get tongue-tied. Like, last time, it's been a long time since I was in a rear ender, a car accident. But it's like you just kind of freeze for a minute, and that's normal. But the more that you
Yeah.
expose yourself to, like, okay, this is what I do, I get my insurance card out, talk to the other driver if, hopefully it's not too much, but
Yeah.
I
When
mean, even,
I
yeah, there's even another thing that somebody told me once. She was in a really bad car accident, one of my friends, and her dog was with her, and they were going to take her dog to the pound. So luckily, she had somebody to call and
mm,
come pick up the dog. So it's like even things like that, like who would ever think about that? You're
and on
driving
top
with
of
your dog.
everything you're going through, it's like that's just one other thing that's stressing you out at that time.
Mm-hmm.
Um, when I got in my accident, when someone rear-ended me, it was on the freeway, and I was driving on my way from work. I was driving home from work, and it was like rush hour traffic, and then someone like crashes into me out of nowhere. And I saw it coming. Like I was looking back. I was looking in
Oh
the rearview mirror,
my
I'm
gosh,
like,
but there's nothing you can do. You
I'm
just
like,
have
I
to sit
can't
there and
move
watch.
forward. I can't get out of the way. And then like he like slams into my car, and then he was coming so fast that like he hit me, and then his car bounced back and hit me again.
Oh my gosh.
Like it was like a double hit. I'm like, when is this gonna end? And then
Oh,
and it was what made things more stressful is that you're in the middle of the freeway, it's rush hour, you're in LA, downtown LA, and people are yelling at you.
oh my
Like
gosh.
they're honking at you, they're yelling at you, like get off the freeway, move, and this and that. And I don't know. I'm like, you're stressed out, you just got in an accident. I was thinking to myself, like, if I move, this guy might just drive away, or like I need to take pictures of everything.
Uh-huh. But
So
yet
it's
you're
like,
probably injured too at the same time.
yeah, yeah. So it's more stressful than people think. And
Yeah,
it's just like it's
absolutely.
just important to take your time and to make sure you
Yeah.
have everything that you need.
Yeah, absolutely. And you need to be a little giving of yourself too. Like you can't be too hard on yourself because I know some people think, oh, well, it didn't affect me, but it really does. It's like even while you're driving, it's like a PTSD response, I guess.
Hmm.
Like some people, it takes a long time before they can drive again because they start
Yeah.
like, yeah, it gets you on your adrenaline up every time you're in your car, you know. So yeah,
Yeah,
there's
I
a lot
was
of,
really scared for a while afterwards too.
yeah.
So I don't know. It helps me to help, I guess, to empathize or sympathize with people who are going through this because in a way, like I know what they're going through and I want to help them.
Well, that's great. That's a good way to at least come out of it and help your healing and then helping other people too by your suffering. Then you can be more compassionate. So we
Mhm.
thank you for being here today.
Thank you.
So why don't we head over to Espanol?
Yeah, ok. Hola, gracias por estar con nosotras hoy. Hoy vamos a hablar de lesiones personales y qué hacer después de sufrir un accidente de tráfico. Aquí estamos con María y con Yeva. Ustedes ya conocen María. Y Yeva es una abogada que ella trabaja con estos tipos de casos, pero también trabaja con ley de limón. So, esos casos son cuando alguien compra un carro nuevo y tiene problemas. Pueden hablar con ella para que le pueda ayudar como a ver qué puede hacer en esas situaciones. Pero un descargo de responsabilidad para empezar, que hoy estamos hablando sobre este tema, pero es para educación, información y hoy no estamos dando asesoramiento legal. Solo información y para educar y en este caso para que si ustedes están en una posición de que tienen un accidente de tráfico, de coche, que ustedes saben qué hacer y cómo conseguir ayuda y pues cómo empezar este proceso también. Um, ok, so yeah. Al principio queremos decir, pues hoy vamos a discutir como todo el proceso de reclamación para que ustedes saben otra vez como todos los pasos que tienen que hacer y si quieren trabajar con un abogado con esto, que conocen también el proceso que va a ayudar ese abogado o abogada. Pero antes de empezar, les quiero decir otra vez que cualquier tiempo de que ustedes necesitan ayuda o quieren hablar con un abogado, que pueden llamar a SBCC y el número de teléfono es 310-4414-2090. Y ahí pueden llamar y SBCC sí pueden juntar ustedes con un abogado o abogada que trabaja en cualquier duda que ustedes tienen y que les pueden ayudar. Ok, so para empezar, los pasos iniciales después de sufrir un accidente de coche. So, si usted ha tenido un accidente o ha sufrido un accidente, es probable de que está en un estado de shock. So, al principio, como tratar de mantener la calma y asegurarte de que todo está bien y ojalá que todo está bien. Pero al primer paso, como un pausa y mirar cómo está todo. A veces cuando tenemos accidentes de coche, como puede pasar que lo miró, o tal vez no lo miró detrás o cualquier cosa, pero al principio de tratar de mantener la calma es importante. Y, y otra vez, si tiene una lesión grave, que puede llamar a 911 porque en esas situaciones, claro que necesitan a alguien que viene con prisa y que les pueden ayudar. Um, ok, so ya cuando se ha calmado un poco la situación, ojalá puede intercambiar información sobre el seguro con el otro conductor. Ojalá que sí tienen. Pero eso es muy importante porque así van a contagiar con esa compañía de seguro y empezar este proceso. También es importante después de todo, de que se ha calmado todo, de tomar fotos del accidente. Ustedes quieren mirar la escena, los coches, los daños de diferentes ángulos, porque a veces cuando tomamos fotos se parece una manera de un ángulo y se puede mover para documentar todo lo que ha pasado ahí, pues. También tomar fotos de las calles, las señales, para que puedan mirar como si ha pasado varios meses que pueden mirar las fotos y mirar dónde los carros estuvieron y todo así, cómo pasó, pues. Y también si usted tiene lesiones, toma fotos de ellas, como si mm, tiene sangre como de su cabeza o algo así, toma fotos de todo, porque sí va a ser muy importante cuando usted tiene que presentar todo esto pues por su abogado o cualquier, como usted va a continuar con esto. Y también si hay gente allí que miró lo que pasó, a veces ellos se quedan ahí porque ellos sí quieren ayudar y dar su declaración, pero si usted mira que hay alguien ahí o alguien que miró lo que pasó, si hay testigos, pueden obtener su información de contacto y si pueden, unas declaraciones de ellos. Si puede ser que tiene un papel y o lo pueden mandar como por mensaje o cualquier cosa, pero si lo pueden tener firmado, a veces gente no quiere hacer eso, pero si puede conseguir eso, puede ayudar. Y otra vez es importante que pueda obtener su información de contacto, porque si tienes una duda o una pregunta y ha pasado unas semanas o algo, que los pueden llamar y ojalá que ellos puedan ayudar en ese tiempo y que sí recuerden, pero eso es porque puede ser muy importante de que haga toda la información y declaración cuando pasa eso, porque ya ustedes saben que mucho pasa cada día y podemos olvidar cosas y detalles también. Am, y si si policía viene, que también es importante obtener una copia del reporte policial, porque ahí ellos pueden incluir detalles del accidente. Ellos tal vez pueden notar quién va a ser como culpable por esto. A veces no, a veces sí es como muy claro, tal vez. Pero ellos también pueden apuntar los testigos y sus declaraciones. Y también es posible que pueden anotar las infracciones del código de vehículos y todo esto le puede ayudar otra vez cuando estás hablando con um, la compañía de segura, um, para ya otra vez en empezar este proceso. Y también para ustedes que pueden anotar todo con detalle de lo que ha pasado, cómo sucedió, cuándo, dónde, cuál hora, todo. Am, Quién estaba manejando, si tenía alguien en el otro carro, había gente en el carro o si estaba solo el conductor, usted, qué tenía en el carro, todo lo que puede apuntar, escríbalo para que, como ya he dicho anterior, que gente que está allí, tal vez ellos pueden como olvidar unas cosas, también nosotros. Y en ese momento que todo está como apenas, apenas pasó, es el mejor tiempo de apuntar todo lo que sienten. am, si tienen lesiones emocional o físico. Am, y es importante apuntar eso, pero también como en los días o semanas que mantener anotar cosas, porque a veces cuando tenemos un accidente, al principio como tal vez no podamos sentir unas cosas, pero ha pasado un día, 2 días, una semana y ya empieza como un dolor de la espalda o algo así. So, a mantener como anotado todo lo que usted siente o lo que ha pasado. Y esto, otra vez, todo esto que está aquí, pues, que pueden mirar, es importante para empezar este proceso, para que ustedes puedan recibir lo máximo que pueden recibir, pero también en empezar este proceso, todo, si tienen más información va a ser mejor porque no quieren tener problemas con el agente de seguros. Como ellos, si le estás mandando todo que usted tiene, pues va a ser mejor um, para que ellos puedan mirar pues qué pasó y qué pasó con usted, cómo están lastimados y todo eso. Okay, the next slide, please. Yeah. Okay. So, Yeva, cuando ella habló en inglés, ella dijo como entre uno o 2 días. Yeva, you said within 1 or 2 days do this, right?
Yes, this is for immediate medical attention, of course, like right
Yeah.
after the accident, if they have to go to the hospital.
Mhm.
But if they're not going that day, they should go the following day. The rest of the steps are for the next few days.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so si usted necesita, para las próximas días, si usted necesita obtener atención médica, si es algo como que necesita que hacer inmediatamente, pues que va a la sala de emergencia o cual lugar que usted quiere. Pero entre un día o como el resto de que puede mirar aquí. Como ya hemos dicho que al principio de esto, como un accidente les puede dejar en shock y también como ha dicho que pueden tener un dolor que pasa con tiempo, que no es como cuando pasó, que puede pasar unos días después. Y si pasa eso, pues claro que es una buena idea regresar y hablar con su doctor para que pueda documentar todo lo que le está diciendo, si tienen que tomar rayas X o como se dice, radiografías, si pueden tomar eso, todo documento de atención médica que usted necesita porque ha sucedido este accidente, pues eso puede ser muy importante documentar todo. Y a ver, también si tiene dolor de cabeza, latigazo cervical. Sí, todo eso es importante conseguir atención médica. Y lo que puede ser también si usted está pensando en empezar este proceso, sí puede ser una buena idea ponerse en contacto con un abogado o abogada que ayuda en este tema. Para ayudarle con su reclamación o usted se puede representar a sí mismo, pero como si va a empezar el proceso judicial y mandar una demanda, sí puede ser como, pues yo creo que todos nosotras les vamos a decir que es una buena idea trabajar con un abogado que sí sabe lo que está haciendo porque ellos sí pueden como pedir lo máximo que tal vez como ahorita vamos a hablar de unas cosas que ustedes pueden pensar para pedir y todo eso, pero alguien que trabaja en esto sí lo puede hacer, pues porque lo hacen con frecuencia. Ok, y también es importante que obtengan tratamiento médico. Como dije, si vas al principio, el primer día, si unos días después siente algo, que va otra vez, una semana siente algo, pero del accidente, que va otra vez para que puedan documentar todo, porque su doctor va a poder notar lo que le estás diciendo, lo que ellos piensan, si ellos piensan que sí es porque sucedió el accidente. Y también pueden con detalle explicar sus lesiones y su progreso y ya, todo eso sí va a servir mucho cuando estás pidiendo a las compañías de seguro para, para lo que quieren, pues. Y también es importante mantener sus documentos, sus fotos, y notar si tiene un diario, anotar como cada día cómo siente y cómo su progreso, pues si se siente mejor, si se siente peor, anotar todo. Y, y todo esto que estamos diciendo ahorita es muy importante porque eso va a ser su evidencia, su prueba de cuando estás pidiendo la cantidad que ustedes quieren, que pueden enseñar que me pertenece esto porque esto, porque estos documentos médicos, porque todas estas fotos que tengo, todo, pues todo que hemos dicho ya, am, como dije también, si tiene un diario que puede apuntar cómo se siente y todo, eso sí les puede servir mucho. Am, y también es muy importante que todo está organizado porque cuanto más organizado esté, más fácil será este proceso. Si trabaja con un abogado, si él puede enseñar todo organizado, ellos no van a tomar tanto tiempo para conseguir todo porque ya está todo organizado de ustedes. Y y con todo eso, como dije, ya ustedes pueden pedir como yo merezco compensación por esto y estas son las razones y aquí tengo todas mis pruebas y ya puede ser un poco más sencillo, ojalá. Um, okay, the next slide, please. Okay, so lo que ya dije anterior, eso todo como si pasa un accidente, los pasos iniciales de qué hacer, qué notar, y estoy tratando de decir a ustedes que sí es muy importante documentar todo, y no importa si ustedes creen que esto es algo pequeño y no sé si lo tengo que documentar o apuntar, apúntalo, es mejor tener más información que menos. Am, ya, las visitas con su doctor, también muy importante, todo eso. Y ya ahorita les queremos decir de unos diferentes tipos de coberturas de seguro automóvil. O sea, al principio de aquí tenemos seguro de responsabilidad civil y este seguro que es seguro que compensa a los demás por lesiones personales y daños a la propiedad cuando usted es el culpable. Am, si usted está trabajando con un abogado o abogada, ellos al principio de este proceso, ellos van a tratar de conseguir compensación de este tipo de seguridad del otro conductor. Um, Porque, well, yeah, but this is like the most comprehensive insurance, right? Oh,
Yes.
sorry, the liability insurance.
Yes, this covers bodily injury and property damage.
Sí, ok. Ya, este tipo cubra, como dije, lesiones personales y también daños de la propiedad y ya puede ser muy importante. Y luego tenemos protección contra daños personales. Esta cobertura es para pagar las facturas médicas. Y luego ahí tenemos pues gente que no tienen seguro. Y en ese caso, su propia compañía de seguros le da cobertura e ingresos cuando sufre un accidente y esa otra persona que no tiene seguro de responsabilidad civil. Sí, ya en ese caso, su propio seguro le puede ayudar en ese caso. Y también cuando gente tiene seguro insuficiente, en este caso, si cuando el seguro de responsabilidad civil del otro conductor es demasiado pequeño para cubrir todos tus daños, tu compañía de seguro cubrirá la diferencia. Y le puede ayudar a eso también. Y también tenemos aquí seguro de gastos médicos. Con este, su póliza de seguro paga una parte limitada de sus fracturas médicas y, y en ese caso no importa pues de quién es culpable, podría exigir ellos podrían exigir el reembolso después de que te recuperes del otro conductor. So, eso es importante de tener en mente que sí pueden pedir reembolso por um, ese costo que le dio, pues. Y también ahí al último tenemos seguro de colisión y ese seguro pagará los daños de su coche sin importar la culpa, menos la frecuencia. Y una cosa, pues, es importante queremos decir antes que es importante ser compensado y estas son las formas de lograrlo. Y ahí puede mirar que hay diferentes formas, pero depende de la situación y de qué tipo de aseguranza o de seguro tiene el otro conductor, que tiene usted. Pero conocer los diferentes puede ser importante cuando pasa un accidente de tráfico o de carro o de coche. Um, y algo que dijo María antes, que alguien le dijo hoy, que un tercio de Los Ángeles no tiene seguro de coche. Y pues yo no sabía eso, pero es un dato que se parece muy importante saber eso cuando está manejando, que tal vez un tercer de gente que en Los Ángeles que no tienen seguro de coche y qué pasa y pensar qué pasa en esos casos. Y también, aparte de eso, muchos otros gente pues tienen seguro de coche, pero con poco cobertura. Y también cuando estamos manejando, yo creo que es una buena idea como pensar qué pasará en esos casos que si algo pasa, un accidente, y y si pasa con gente que no tiene seguro de coche o que si tienen seguro de coche pero con poco cobertura, pues puede ser una situación que un poco más difícil pues para conseguir lo que ustedes quieren o lo que a ustedes le pertenece por su um, lesiones y pues todo lo que pasó. Y María le preguntó um, sobre María le preguntó a Eva qué pasará si los escenarios de atropello y fuega, pues cuando alguien pega a alguien y se van pues con prisa y no dejan nada, ya. Y Eva contestó que en esa situación que mejor manera de oh my gosh, perdón, que la mejor manera de protegerse, ella dijo que en esa situación la mejor manera de protegerse es tener un seguro de responsabilidad civil para cubrir esas situaciones. Y ese aquí pueden mirar al principio, este es el seguro de responsabilidad civil, porque con ese si pasa esa situación que su compañía puede ayudarle y ya, eso puede ser muy importante para anotar si, también Yeva dijo que ella piensa que es buena idea a, a saber qué tipo de seguro tiene usted y de veras de mirarlo, de entenderlo y saber en cada caso, si algo pasa, si alguien sin seguro pega su carro, como qué tipo de ayuda su compañía le va a ofrecer. So, puede ser una tarea pues para ustedes conseguir toda esa información para que pues pueden saber. Es importante cuando están manejando aquí en Los Ángeles. Si hay muchos accidentes y estamos manejando mucho tiempo de nuestro día y yeah. Next slide, please. Okay. So, aquí tenemos los elementos de una reclamación por daños personales. Y en todo esto estamos intentando de, de mirar quién es responsable por el accidente y a ver cómo continuar con esa información. Um, y si usted trabaja con un abogado o abogada, pues ellos, claro, conocen todo esto y ellos van a ser como su guía, pues no van a ser su guía, ellos van a tomar toda la información que usted le da, como hemos dicho al principio, si tiene todo organizado, tiene no sé cómo se dice, pues tiene todo juntado y organizado y se lo puede dar a un abogado o abogada que hace esto y con eso todo organizado, ellos pueden tomar todo y empezar este proceso que estamos diciendo los elementos para, para que pueden pedir lo máximo que pueden pedir por lo que sucedió. So, ¿cómo se dice en español? Hay, pues, el tipo de... Dame un segundo, por favor. Ok, la causa de la acción es una causa de negligencia. Sí, y con eso estamos diciendo que todo el mundo tiene la responsabilidad de conducir con seguridad. En este caso, porque estamos hablando de accidentes de coche y accidentes de tráfico. So, con eso en mente, se puede quebrar como deber, incumplitado y casualidad real y próxima y daños. So, con esto, como dije, al principio deber, como todo el mundo debemos de manejar con responsabilidad, de conducir con cuidado, pues. Y el próximo paso, si eso no pasa, si no estamos conduciendo con responsabilidad o cuidado, eso puede resultar en un accidente o unas lesiones para alguien que está caminando o cualquier cosa. Eso puede confirmar pues que sucedió negligencia en parte de los dos, de uno o cualquier cosa. Como, no sé si lo estoy explicando como muy claramente, pero lo que les quiero dejar un poco de información aquí es de que saber que todos tenemos la responsabilidad de conducir con seguridad y con cuidado. Y si no hacemos eso, si eso puede resultar en un accidente y con eso, si eso pasa, pues pueden empezar este proceso de daños personales porque sucedió en, y era casualidad de no manejar como deberemos. Ok, y ahí dice reclamación al seguro de terceros y eso puede ser contra el seguro del otro conductor. Pero es otra vez algo que si usted trabaja con alguien que les puede como explicar más en detalle si le pertenece a usted en este caso o cómo va a conseguir lo que ustedes quieren. ya después de que determinan quién es responsable, pues pueden presentar una reclamación contra todos. Si había mucha más gente, no nomás solo un conductor, si hay más gente, usted puede presentar una reclamación contra todos, pero es importante saber de que solo van a cobrar como no puedes pedir una cantidad y pedir eso a cada persona. Si vas a pedir una cantidad, es posible de que una persona paga mitad y otra persona paga mitad, pero solo vas a salir con esa cantidad de que le pertenece ah, por sus daños, por ah, ¿cómo se dice? Oh, sus daños, ya. So, ya, es importante saber de que no vas a ganar como doble, pues. Am, y la última cosa que tiene ahí, Lleva, es que en California tenemos algo que se llama negligencia comparativa y eso dice que eso puede limitar su recuperación por porcentaje de culpa. A ver, si yo estoy en un accidente de tráfico y, por ejemplo, es 40% es mi culpa y lo demás es del otro conductor. Si yo pido, no sé cuánto, si yo pido una cantidad, me pueden rebajar ese 40% porque eso es de lo que yo estoy culpable. Um, saber eso yo creo que es importante porque si estás trabajando con alguien, claro que le van a explicar todo esto, pero si usted sabe de que California tiene eso, pues ojalá le puede ayudar a entender un poco más cuando le están explicando por qué, por ejemplo, le están explicando o le están pidiendo algo, pero quiere que la compañía de seguro respuesta con rebajar eso. Si usted está culpable de un porcentaje, pues ya en este caso usted sabe por qué. The next slide, please. Okay, so aquí está, Yeva presentó que hay diferentes tipos de daños especiales y daños generales. And Yeva, these are special damages, right? The medical, property, loss of income.
The medical bills,
Medical care, property damage, loss of income.
the loss of income is not under special damage. Those are just additional damages. It's mostly just covers the medical damages. I included everything together in this slide.
Okay, so yeah, okay, good, thank you. Okay, so no vamos a como notar cuáles son especiales o generales, pero aquí están todos aquí. So puede pedir una cantidad por sus daños y puede ser al principio para atención médica, como hemos dicho, si siente algo y tiene que ir al sala de emergencia o tiene que consultar con su doctor, pues todo eso um, que cuesta para conseguir toda esa atención médica, eso puede estar incluido en esto. Daños de propiedad, claro. Yo creo que Eva dijo que si ella tenía como una computadora en su carro y con el accidente que ya no sirve, pues esto puede ser incluida en eso. Pérdida de ingresos. Si no puede trabajar, por ejemplo, si trabaja en construcción y si algo pasa con su espalda y no puede como levantar cosas o algo así, o no puede trabajar, les pueden compensar por ese pérdida de ingresos. Y también si trabaja en una oficina y lo mismo, si tiene un daño de su espalda y no se puede sentar para como 5 horas como su trabajo necesita. Ya, eso son otra vez pérdida de ingreso porque no puedes trabajar tanto, pues. Y cuando habló en inglés, yo estaba diciendo que esto es muy, muy, muy importante notar. Notar que no estás no tienes capacidad para trabajar. Y también es importante para, como dije en su diario, escribir todo esto y notarlo pues para que tiene esa información. Pero también es importante conseguir documentos que demuestren que no estás capacitada para trabajar, que puede ser de su doctor. Eso puede ser muy importante para, no es que solo, como solo su palabra que está diciendo que no puedes, pero si su doctor dice, ya ella no puede sentar para varias horas o no puede levantar cosas que pesan tanto y por esa razón, y pues eso es porque sucedió el accidente y también por esa razón pues no puede trabajar y tiene pérdida de ingresos. Otra vez con todo esto que estamos hablando hoy, documentar todo porque va a ser muy importante. Y también usted puede pedir daños para discapacidad física permanente o desfiguración. Eso puede ser rigidez permanente, dolor o cicatrices. También con eso puede ser buena idea que tiene todo de su doctor, de sus visitas de médico, para que tiene la documentación de probar eso, pues. Otros daños que puede pedir son pérdida de experiencias familiares, sociales o educativas. Am, y dolor y sufrimiento, daños emocionales como resultado de am, cualquiera de los anteriores. Y por ejemplo, pues, ok, vamos a decir, si tiene discapacidad física permanente, eso puede suceder de que gente tiene daños emocionales por esa razón, pues depende de la persona y de qué sucedió o qué tipo de discapacidad tiene esa persona, pero sí puede suceder eso. Y vamos a continuar con los daños en la próxima. You can go to the next one, Yeva, please. Ok, so aquí tenemos, continuando con daños especiales y daños generales. Y hay una fórmula de los daños para daños generales. Va a ser así, esta fórmula va a ser daños especiales médicos multiplicado por, y ese número depende de unas cosas. Puede depender o depende de qué tipo de lesión, si tiene lesión de tejidos suaves, o si tiene lesión dura, si tiene fracturas, lesiones de la cabeza, heridas, lágrimas, dislocaciones. En tratar de tomar una decisión de cuál número van a multiplicar, los daños especiales médicos. Van a mirar a, pues qué tipo de lesión tiene y apuntar un número así para pedir una cantidad de los daños generales. Um, Yeva, really quickly, the physicians versus non-physicians, can you just tell me a little bit how that applies in this scenario or with
Yes.
asking
So
damages?
when people get treated, they might go to certain doctors or what's called physicians versus non-physicians. So they'll still be treated, but it just depends on who treats them. So if they're treated by like a chiropractor, or if they go to an herbalist, or more any more like non-traditional doctors, that's still treatment, is still valid, but it gives them a lower multiplier than if they were to get treated by a physician, or they go to a hospital and they're treated at a hospital. So it just shows the extent of their damages. And if they do get treated by physicians, or if they do get treated at a hospital or certain doctors, that just increases their multiplier, because it shows that they need more serious treatment or more intense treatment.
Okay, thank you. Ok, so Yeva acaba de decir aquí dice médicos contra no médicos, y en este caso, ella ya explicó que si usted visita con un médico como en la sala de emergencia otra vez, o con un médico como tradicional, que puede ser de que el número que multiplican ahí arriba para sus daños generales puede ser más, puede subir más ese número, porque da más información de los tipos de daños que usted tiene, que pueden ser más, ¿cómo se dice? Más serio. Pero como si va a un quiropráctico, que eso está bien, porque estás consiguiendo ayuda, pues no es médico tradicional, pero que es como que todavía estás recibiendo ayuda por sus daños que pasó físicas. Pero en decir eso, puede ser que sus daños generales, lo que pide su abogado, puede ser más alto si va a consultar con un médico, en vez de alguien que no es médico, pero todavía puede como ayudar en diferentes maneras. Y otra cosa que cambia cuánto puede pedir para sus daños puede ser si usted tiene un largo periodo de tratamiento, porque si tarda más tiempo en curarse, pues puede ser que sus daños están más serios, y que sí necesitan más tiempo, pues, porque, por ejemplo, si es algo pues no tan grave, tal vez no tienes que mirar al médico con tan frecuencia, y eso puede decir que de veras que no es tan grave. Pero al otro lado, si usted tiene que ir al médico cada semana, o tiene tantos tratamientos que tienen que suceder, pues eso puede decir que sí es algo muy grave, y puede cambiar ese número de que van a pedir. Y también algo que puede cambiar cuánto piden puede ser medicamentos prescritos, y la duración de la recuperación. También puede mirar a la potencia del medicamento. Por ejemplo, si es con una potencia muy alta, también eso tal vez puede decir que su daño es ah, más, pues que necesita ese potencial porque tienes mucho dolor o cualquier cosa, pero que lo necesita. Pero con todo medicamento, recuerdo que de que Eva dijo en inglés que es importante de solo tomar pues que usted se siente cómodo, porque si es algo muy alta y de potencia y no se siente muy cómodo con eso, pero, pero solo en tener un prescrito con alta potencia sí puede decir que sus daños son muy, se- ¿cómo se dice? Que no son suaves, pues. Am, y también algo que puede cambiar cuánto pide su abogado por usted, por todos estos daños especiales o generales. Puede ser si usted tiene lesión residual, cicatrices permanentes, desfiguración, por ejemplo, lesiones de la espalda o otro tipo. Y la última aquí que dice es si tiene daños física y emocionales. Por ejemplo, si tenías planeado una vacación o necesitabas perder días de clase, o pérdida de consorcio. Am, todo esto puede cambiar ese número que va a multiplicar para determinar cuánto van a pedir por usted. Y el multiplicador se determina en función de alcance de sus daños y necesidades. Como ha dicho, que si usted trabaja con alguien que si todo está organizado y tiene todo que lo puede dar a esa persona que le va a ayudar, ah, ellos sí pueden mirar todo que van a pedir porque tiene todo ahí claramente y sí puede ayudar mucho estar todo junto a esa información. Am, y una nota es que es importante asegurarse de notar todo lo que ha sufrido al consecuencia del accidente. Por todo lo que hemos dicho hoy, anotar todo va a ser muy importante, tener todo documentado. Y también es importante para que gente no se siente mal por conseguir dinero por sus lesiones. Y la razón de eso, de no sentir mal por conseguir dinero, es porque la ley no puede darle una nueva espalda, no le puede como si pierda su mano o algo así, la ley no le puede dar eso, pero sí puede darte dinero para intentar de que vuelvas a estar en la posición anterior del accidente. Eso es todo lo que estamos haciendo aquí. Si hay algo que pasó con usted, que, por ejemplo, ese ejemplo de si tienes daño en su espalda y no puede sentarse o levantar cosas o sentir cómodo, pues nada, la ley no puede ayudar con eso, pero otra vez sí, ojalá le puede intentar de darle dinero para que vuelvas a la posición anterior del accidente. Y no sé si lo expliqué muy claramente, pero por ejemplo, si puede ser para cosas futuros también. Por ejemplo, si usted no puede trabajar ya, y si tienes, no sé, 30 años y, en el futuro podrías trabajar tantos años y tienes documentado como oh my gosh, cuánto cada año pues estás juntando de su trabajo y si ya no puedes, eso es algo que pueden incluir en este demanda por pues demanda por sus daños que pueden pedir porque ya no puedes trabajar y tienes estos años y tenías varios años para trabajar y van a intentar de buscar un número que otra vez que le pone a usted en una posición que, en la posición anterior del accidente. Eso es todo lo que estamos haciendo en empezar un proceso de este tipo. And the next slide, please, Yeva. Okay, so ya ojalá que entiendan un poco de los pasos como al principio cuando pasa el accidente, y también qué hacer 1 o 2 días después del accidente, que ojalá ya entiendan un poco más de los tipos de aseguranza, de los tipos de un poquito de ley de como de los elementos de reclamación en este tipo de daños personales. Am, y también que, que ojalá entiende un poco de daños especiales y generales y lo que puede pedir, si lo va a hacer solo a sí mismo usted o si va a trabajar con alguien que usted sabe como cuál cosas van a pensar cuando están decidiendo cuánto van a pedir por usted, de qué sucedió en este accidente. Am, pero aquí tenemos algo, ahí arriba dice próximos pasos de su reclamación. Y otra vez, si usted trabaja con alguien, claro que le van a ayudar con esto, explicar todo. Pero el próximo paso va a ser aviso o noticia y, y eso le van a mandar a la compañía de seguros para informarles del accidente, de lo que pasó, de que ya pues vas a empezar este proceso am, de, de- de daños personales. Segundo paso va a ser una carta de demanda y otra vez el abogado va a utilizar toda la información de que usted ha documentado. Y este paso es muy importante porque todavía no has empezado el proceso de una demanda judicial. Esto solo es una carta de demanda, pero sí es algo que, que si tiene toda la información, todos los documentos de que usted ya tiene todo organizado, porque estamos diciendo que es muy importante. Toda esa información, fotos, todo va a decir todo en esta carta de demanda, a referencia de todo eso. Y puede ser que esta carta de demanda sí es muy fuerte, que cuando lo recibe esta compañía de seguros, lo miran y dicen, oh, no queremos que este caso se va al próximo paso para empezar una demanda judicial porque no va a ser una buena idea para nosotros porque va a costar más. Pero en esta demanda en esta carta de demanda, si están pidiendo, como si estás trabajando con alguien que sí conoce qué son sus derechos y qué puede pedir usted am, para ponerle en la posición anterior del accidente, puede ser algo que sí le conviene porque pues no vas a otra vez empezar ese proceso judicial y toma mucho tiempo y ya. So, esta carta sí puede ser muy importante, o sí es muy importante. Y otra vez va a pedir una cantidad para iniciar el proceso de negociación. Y ya, el próximo paso va a ser negociación y ojalá que ustedes pueden como, ¿cómo se dice? Pueden estar de acuerdo al final de eso, de que cuánto van a pagarle a usted por lo que pasó en este accidente. Y y si eso no sirve, si no pueden estar de acuerdo de que cuánto le van a dar después de mandar la carta de demanda, pues puede ser que ya tiene que tomar el paso de presentación de una demanda judicial. am, y pues sí, empezar ese proceso. Pero algo que tiene ahí lleva que sí es muy importante es saber que hay un prescripción de la acción de 2 años, y es importante que no se retrasen porque tienes que presentar la demanda en los 2 años siguientes del accidente. Y puede ser de que nada puede pasar o nada, que no puedes conseguir dinero para sus daños si ha pasado esos 2 años. Esos 2 años muy, 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 muy importante. Y esos 2 años siguientes del accidente. Um, ok, si ya ha pasado varias negociaciones y están de acuerdo de cuánto le van a pagar a usted para sus daños, para todo lo que pasó, um, ya, si están de acuerdo, la compañía de seguros les va a mandar un acuerdo y va a ser como un descargo um, para que todo termine, pues. Pero Yeva ha dicho anterior en inglés que es importante, por favor, que no se apresuren, que usted quiere asegurarse de que todas sus lesiones, sus circunstancias futuras están cubiertas en el acuerdo. Y con esto sí puede ser importante de que otra vez están trabajando con alguien que conoce este tema, ese área de ley, porque ellos le pueden decir, ok, este acuerdo sí se asegura de que todas sus lesiones y sus circunstancias futuras están cubiertas en este acuerdo y está bien. Pero si todo está bien, claro que puede firmar y ya como que se acabe todo esto, pues. Y al final de todo eso, ya ha firmado ese acuerdo, ese descargo y al final va a recibir su cheque. So eso es un poco de información. Ojalá que le pueda ayudar un poco de entender qué pasa cuando usted sufre en un accidente de tráfico, como qué cosas puede ser de que en ese caso, ya otra vez estás en shock, pero también es importante tomar un paso atrás y pensar qué va a ser importante si quiero empezar este proceso de lesiones personales y qué tipo de documentos y pues todo lo que hemos hablado hoy. Y I guess the last slide, Eva, please. Y para referencia, Yeva usó este libro. En inglés se llama How to Win Your Personal Injury Claim by Joseph Matthews, pero en español, Cómo ganar su reclamación por daños personales. Y no sé si lo tienen en español, pero si lo quieren leer, ahí está. Y gracias a todos por estar aquí.
Gracias, Jasmine.